drop down in the talk properly. Drop down in the comments
Sarah Fear coming up.
and let us know.
Welcome back to another episode of Blerd Up Reviews, where we review the latest and greatest in movie, TV, and gaming. We are your hosts. I'm Monique,
I'm Killer Cam.
and today we are reviewing Fear Street Part 2, 1978. Which is like the follow-up of the Fear Street 1994 movie that released last week on Netflix. And I'm actually really excited to jump into this one. Um, I think you said this in the 1994 review, that we don't get a lot of horror events like this, where
Mm-hmm.
we get three movies releasing basically all at once. I mean, they're releasing, one week after the other, but I mean, technically that's at once. So we don't have long to wait to figure out what's going on in these stories, and I'm just super excited about it. Do you feel the same way after watching 1978?
I mean, definitely. Specifically for Netflix, they normally don't do stuff like this. This is typically a Shutter type thing.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to see Netflix picking up this type of event format because it does give you something to look forward to basically every weekend. As you guys probably, if you haven't watched the first review for 1994, definitely go watch that because we did give ratings for it. And we had some
Hmm.
very interesting thoughts on it. I think between both you and I, we rated it 5.5.
Hmm.
So was really curious to jump into this movie because I wanted to see how they were going to follow it up.
Hmm.
So definitely excited, a lot to say. Before we jump into it, thank you to everyone who has been liking and subscribing to the channel because the likes, the reviews, it helps us um, basically get our content out to a larger audience. It also makes me and Mo feel good to know that we've got a nice little Blerd community out there who are interested in the things that we're interested in. So thank you again for your support. And if you are new, just stumbling across this, please make sure you hit the like button if you're digging the review and hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with our reactions. We're currently reviewing Loki, Superman and Lois. We've got some movie reviews coming up. We've also got some gameplay coming up, and that's definitely something you don't want to miss out on. So hit the button so you can be a part of the conversation.
Yep.
All right. Before we jump into the details here, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We will be talking about spoilers. So, again, if you have not seen this movie, please pause, go watch it, and then come right back so you can be in the conversation with us.
Yep.
All right. Mo, synopsis.
Yeah, so basically, again, this is a continuation from the first Fear Street movie, Fear Street 1994.
Mhm.
We open as Dina and Josh from the first movie are basically meeting with C. Berman, who we learned from the last movie survived, an encounter with Sarah Fear, which is the witch that
Mhm.
is the overarching villain in all three of these movies. Um, so they go to see Berman to try to figure out how she was able to get away from Sarah Fear, and that goes into a story of C. Berman telling Josh and Dina about um, Camp Nightwing in 1978. So basically, when we go back to this 1978 time frame, C. Berman tells a story about, her and her sister were at the camp, and there was a killer who actually turns out to be Cindy Berman's boyfriend in the movie. But he goes on this whole killing spree, and it's just, the two sisters, the Berman sisters, trying to survive that whole ordeal and trying to survive Sarah Fearer, the witch, basically.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um, liked. What did you like about this movie?
Oh man, I definitely liked it for better than the first one.
Mhm.
I like this better than the 1994. Um, I really loved all the references that I saw, and Friday the 13th. Of course, we knew that was going to happen. It's
Yeah.
a camp killer, but there was also some references. I think in some of the names that were that were mentioned too. Like I believe Cindy Berman's boyfriend's name is Tommy
Mm,
Slater,
mhm,
which Tommy we know from Friday the 13th. And also, she also has a friend named Alice, who I believe was the name of another Friday the 13th character, if not, I'm
mhm.
not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've seen those Friday the 13th movie. I do know Tommy though. Um, but definitely just the whole feel of this movie, I felt it was like different than 1994 for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Is that
mean,
mhm,
it was definitely different. So the return to the camp slasher, of course, Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, all those types of movies, we definitely got that. We definitely got the look and the feel for it. It was, I think the tone of this movie was a little bit different, but I think it was also um just due to them being in a different environment. In the first movie, 1994, it's basically suburbia. In this movie, there's a little bit more added danger to it because they
mhm.
are at a secluded camp, and help isn't, I mean, it's far away. so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there was the elevated sense of danger in this movie that I felt. I love the kills. Like, there was
Mhm.
absolutely no complaints with the kills in this movie. Again, it fit the camp horror format for me. So I was
Right.
very happy with that. Um, what else did you like?
Well, speaking on the kills, I loved how they didn't really pull away from the kills. Because again,
No,
the
yeah,
biggest surprise to me in 1994 were the kills that we got at the very end of that movie, where I was thinking like, oh, everybody's going to be fine, and all of a sudden it was like, oh crap,
hmm,
like people are getting killed left and right here. So in this movie, I feel like they took it even further with being, basically saying to the audience, okay, nobody is safe in this.
hmm,
From watching the first movie, but in this movie you're also going to see everything that is happening. So there were no cutaways when there was, people being killed. You saw axes going into people's bodies, heads, and everything like that. And I thought it was, I think, except for the kids that were being killed, I think that's the only
yeah,
time they actually pulled away, because kids being killed, no one wants to see that. But
yeah,
um everything as a camp counselors, anytime any one of them's were, one of those characters were killed, man, it was gruesome, and I
yeah,
loved every moment. And I think my favorite one was the one in the bathroom with the head.
yeah.
Yeah.
There
So
was that one, and I'll tell you the one that disturbed me once,
mhm,
actually did disturb me, because like you said, they didn't pull away from it. It was gratuitous, and it was the reaction of the body when the axe is hitting the chest, and the killer stabbing, not stabbing like this, but going in at an angle, going up, and their
yeah.
bodies are jiggling. Like, I was
Hmm.
like, holy shit, this is going long. This is going on longer than I think
Yes.
it should go
Yes,
on.
there is one at the end of the movie where it's just like you see this axe go into somebody like several different, like six times, and it's
Yeah,
like they show that like the camera's on that for like the whole thing. You don't see any cutaways. It's just like
yeah, yeah.
so
So yeah, there was that, and then in this movie there was nudity, and I felt like the nudity fit. So I didn't have an issue with the sex scene and the nudity in this one like I did in 1994. The 1994 one just seemed like, this one was more like, okay, this is what I would expect to be happening between a camp counselor and
I I actually felt the first one was, because there's two in this movie. I felt the
Mhm.
first one was justified. The last one, it could have been just we could have just saw the remnants of. I don't know if we needed to see all of that, but it is that camp counselor type of horror
Yeah.
movie, so that's what we typically see in these type of horror movies. But for the first one that we saw, I definitely agree. It wasn't just, I don't feel like it was just thrown in there just to be
Hmm.
thrown in there like it was, in the first movie. I felt it really did have to do with that character, and basically gave that character a huge character arc from that time period until the
Hmm.
end of the movie. That's another thing I loved about this movie. I felt like the characters were a little bit more fleshed out than 1994. I felt like
Yeah.
by the end of the movie, some of these characters, Alice, Cindy Berman, they had really gone through this transition and, character arc basically.
Yeah.
And I felt more in tune with that than I did with the characters in the first.
Yeah. Well, definitely hold on to the second sex scene, because I think that plays into something that made the movie I don't want to say not enjoyable, but it plays
Mhm.
into kind of like this theory I have in regards to these two movies that we've seen so far, and why I'm having maybe a harder time connecting to it. So I'm gonna hold
Mhm.
on to it. Um, but I definitely agree. I think the characters were way better than the first one. Um, I actually cared when some of them got off. So I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, though, I think it was the closest. If there was to be an homage, Friday the 13th, I think they really did a good job with this one, making that
Yep.
happen, because that's the feeling that it gave me. But again, I'm gonna hold on to that when we get to the cons of this, because I think that has a big part of why I feel some of the ways I do about this movie. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
any additional likes?
I love the killer in this movie. Well,
Hmm.
I have two more likes. I definitely love the killer in this movie. So, like I said before, the killer turns out to be Tommy Slater, which is Cindy Berman's boyfriend in the movie. And the way they show his transition from going to this, likable boyfriend, who wants to be there for his girlfriend, into this straight up killer who
Hmm.
is possessed by this Fear, type of spirit, is awesome. Like I felt like every time he showed up on screen and he was just, and he got bloodier and bloodier as he was going out,
Yeah.
going through the movie. So like every time they showed him and they showed him with this axe, I was like, oh my gosh, this is classic. This is awesome. This is awesome slasher type of movie. So I really enjoyed they showed him how he actually gets his, because we saw that slasher character in 1994, but he had a hood on the whole time.
Yeah.
So he doesn't, throughout this movie he doesn't really actually get that hood in turn until the end, towards the end of the movie. So I really like how they showed how he actually got that hood, like how he got the hood, and that we saw in the first movie. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Getting the burlap sack again, another throwback to
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, but
Hmm.
the way he gets it by basically, so that was the part where I was like, well, what is she doing? Because you could breathe through burlap, girl, when she was trying to put it over his face. But then when I saw the imprint of his face come through, I was like, oh, that's how he gets the the the
Yeah.
mask. So okay, fine. I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but that's where the good stuff ends for me.
Okay, well, I do want to say one other thing, because at the end of this movie, and guys, remember this is full spoiler, so if you do not want any spoilers at all, like please cut off now. But full
Hmm.
spoilers, they tricked me in this movie, because going into this movie, I thought the C. Berman that Jillian Jacobs played was Cindy Berman.
Hmm.
But we find out at the end of the movie it's actually not her; it's actually her sister, which throughout the movie they call her Ziggy.
Uh-huh.
But at one point at the very end of this movie, we hear this voiceover, and all of a sudden I had my subtitles up and it was like Christine.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the heck is Christine? And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't Cindy that we're like Jillian Jacobs is playing. It's actually Christine who's Ziggy in the movie. So I thought that was a pretty awesome kind of twist in this movie, which it took me by surprise, because like again, going into this movie, I thought C Jillian Jacobs C Berman was Cindy Berman, and that was not the case at all.
See, I didn't. I always figured it was Ziggy.
Oh,
I
okay.
felt the way the story was being told, it was clear that it was Ziggy.
Ziggy.
So we get to the end. I was just kind of like,
Oh,
y'all didn't know, like, when she's telling
I
the stories, and
didn't.
I'm like, y'all didn't, like, Dina and what's his name, Josh? What's the little boy name? I forgot his name.
Yeah, Dina and Josh.
Dina and
Yeah.
Josh. I'm like, y'all, why are y'all surprised? I thought that it was pretty clear that she was Ziggy, but I guess not. So I don't know.
It took me by surprise.
That
So,
annoyed me though. That
mhm.
annoyed me, and I think again it plays into this overall thing of the problem that I have with this movie.
Mhm.
So, again, I'm gonna say it. I like this one way more than I like the first one. The first one was
Mhm.
just kind of like all over the place. This one, I think, suffers from the same thing, but just in a lighter way.
Mhm.
So, um, you want to start with the dislikes, or you want me to?
To be honest with you, I I was having so much fun with this movie. I
Hmm.
didn't notice really a lot of dislikes about. I mean, there was some at the very beginning of this movie. I thought I was going to hate it.
Hmm.
There were some characters. Okay, so yeah, this is my one and only dislike. There were some characters at the beginning of the movie who got on my nerves,
Hmm.
and they just were like I felt like I was like, "Oh, this shit again." Like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't understand, like, why are you being such a I don't wanna say that. Why are you being such a butt right now? Like, just chill, like, yeah, like, camp, like, just chill out." But that turned around for me as the movie went on. But yeah, I would say at the very beginning of this movie, there were some characters that I was like, "Oh my gosh, so annoying. Like, could we please hurry up past this?"
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely there with you. At the beginning of the movie annoyed the shit out of me. It
Mhm.
really did, because it's almost like you were saying, it was kind of going the same pattern. And it's like we've seen it before. But then as the movies really start going, I started getting more into it. I actually watched it again. I watched it twice just to make sure I wasn't tripping. And the thing that I think that really prevents me from enjoying this movie is the difficulty that they're having with making it preteen and rated R at the same time, like gearing it towards a preteen audience, but
Yeah.
it being rated R. There's just it conflicts with, does it make sense?
No, no, no,
It's
'cause I'm right
conflicting
there with you.
with each other. So it's like, and I feel like that's why I can't connect to it, because I'm not a preteen, I'm a grown ass man.
Mhm.
But I still like the visuals of like the kills and everything. So it's just kind of like, Uh,
No,
I don't know how I'm supposed to receive this movie. And it was the
yeah,
same thing. I think it was because I watched 1994 again also, and I feel like that was the case in that as well. On top of the, I'm not a fan of the witch storyline.
okay.
I'm really not. I really, if they were gonna do it, like I said in a previous review, I really wish they would have held it to this portion of the story. Maybe it would have been a little bit more acceptable, but there's still something about it that just doesn't connect for me. Like
Yeah,
the witch is really one of those things, like, I don't care, kill more people.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't really become significant to me until the end of the movie, where they do the flashback to 1666. And then
Mhm.
I got excited about the witch's story. You know what I mean? So I think weaving so much of the witch into it distracted me,
Mhm.
because at the point in time it's not relevant, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I I don't know, man. Well, let me say this. In terms of the like the whole it's supposed to be like preteen,
mhm,
but then it's rated R thing. That I'll admit that is something that caught me off guard because again in 1994 I went into that movie and the last half of the movie, I was like, oh, this is a preteen movie. Like
mhm,
everybody's gonna be okay, nobody's gonna die. And then it changed.
yeah,
And then after 1994, we got the trailer for 1978, and there was some scenes in there. There were scenes of sex in the trailer,
mhm,
and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! And then, of course, in this 1978 the movie, there was two scenes of sex in it, and I was
mhm,
like, and the gratuity of the kills and everything like that. So it is kind of my mind is just like, okay, I know Fear Street was my growing up,
mhm.
my teenage years, and those are the books that I love to read. However, I'm not sure if they went this far in those books. I'm pretty not in none of the books I read. I don't believe, but I don't remember it going this far of seeing like two teenagers having sex. So
Mhm.
I can get what you're saying. Like from the Fear Street I remember to this, it is definitely different.
S- So here's what I just thought of, because I was trying to think of a way, how can I communicate this in a way to where people will understand what I'm saying? there
Mhm.
in these movies, there's still this level of innocence that's there versus when you think of the Friday the 13th and the kids are fun
Mhm.
and carefree and smoking weed and fucking and you it's that. It was like this tried to have that, but it wasn't believable, I think. I think the writing didn't really make it possible for me to look at them in that kind of way. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? Like if you think about Friday the 13th and the feels you get from the victims and the danger they're in those movies versus this movie, Friday the 13th is much more raw and visceral versus this one
Mhm.
tries to be with things put in there for shock factor, but it doesn't really it just doesn't connect. I can't explain it.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
I can't explain it. But again, the kills, I love the kills, but it was just that
Yeah.
thing that's keeping me from really connect. Even like from a grown up perspective, I was like, well, how do I relate to Christine as an adult and the whack ass sheriff as an adult? And I'm like, y'all lame. I don't want to be y'all friend. Like, you know what I mean? Like trying to put myself into the movie is just kind of like, hang out with
Yeah.
any of y'all. Like, so.
Yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha.
So I don't know. I guess that's the major thing. Like even the sex scene, the second sex scene, again, I feel like it's that trying to pull in the Friday the 13th, but not really.
Mhm.
It's just not giving you the same feeling, you
I
know?
gotcha. I gotcha. Um, well, I know you were saying that you did not like the or you're not liking the witch
Hmm.
part of these movies. I feel a little bit better about it. Like in the first movie, 1994, I was not. I
Hmm.
was excited to see how they were going to expand on that witch story, and I feel like they definitely did it in this part too. They showed us the whole little, witch cave
Hmm.
that we saw from the first one, and we got to see a little bit more about like what was actually down there in those caves in this
Hmm.
in this one. And then you get, to the end of this movie, and we've got, where Dina rejoins Seraphir's body and hand together, and all of a sudden she's transformed back to 1666, which is going to be the final movie in the series.
Yeah.
So I thought I was a little bit more excited about the witch story because we got to see and hear more about the witch story in this movie. So I'm excited to see how much more they are going to expand that in this final movie.
Yeah. I still wish it was a case where they didn't just let that detail go up front and center. I
Hmm.
think, and here's a perfect example. We just watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I think The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It did a really good job of sprinkling in the witch. First, it was about demon possession. You didn't know, you saw a little flash of some witchcraft shit, but that's it until you
Hmm.
got to the middle. And then it was revealed that this is being caused by a witch, a living witch putting a curse on them. I
Hmm.
think this movie would have benefited from just kind of like that same model, maybe mentioning the witch in the first movie. The second movie, maybe a couple of the characters get the flashbacks of the red flashbacks of the witch, and then you get to the end of the movie, then it's full fledged going back to Puritan times, and then the third movie is that.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it should have been. Because when you weave the witch stuff, and again, this is my opinion, this is just for me. When you're weaving the witch stuff in with the serial killer stuff, it's just too much. Like it's making my brain work too much to to process the murders and the level of danger and stuff like that. It was
Hmm.
it. I don't know. But Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do is probably the best example I can give of keep maintaining that level of, well, what the fuck is going on? I wasn't
Yeah.
asking that question in this movie or the last movie because they just told us. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. Okay.
so I don't know. I was just trying to think of a better way to communicate it because just saying, oh, I couldn't connect to it, that's not acceptable to me. I need to be able to explain why I was unable to, what was holding me back. So hopefully people understand where I'm coming from on that. But
Yeah.
anyway, any additional dislikes?
No, there to like I said, there's not much I did not like about this movie. again, I think it is better than 1994.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed watching it. I actually was tired watching this one, just like I was watching the first one, but I felt myself saying wanting to stay awake more with this one because it was
Hmm.
just so much more exciting than the first one, and I felt like I was more involved in it than the first one was. So
One more thing. That damn outhouse scene with the cave. No, 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 no. When they're in the cave in the outhouse, and that's
yes.
like, I can't do it. I want.
My thing is Ziggy put her head down into a toilet. And
Right.
that was my thing. I was like, girl,
People should put
people,
their butts in shit on.
yeah. And you just gonna put your head down like, no, girl.
No.
You can see her from up here.
Oh,
Like, hey,
right.
Cindy down there. She put her head fully into, anyways, I'm sorry.
Anyway, but that was like total throwback to one of the sleepaway camp movies where
I really
Angela
adore
killed
those
one of the
movies.
campers by putting her in an outhouse. That just and I think that's what scarred me from that, from seeing that as a kid. It's just like, that's gross. Like, that is so disgusting and absolutely not. And I don't care how bad I have to go, I'm not going in an outhouse. I just won't. So
And who builds an outhouse on top of a cave? Like, how are y'all cleaning that up? Yeah.
I
So
just know it's stank
that's
in
why
there.
Cindy,
Like,
yes, that's why Ziggy was like, "You smell like shit," and she was like,
yeah,
"Yeah, it is
I'm
shit.
covered in
I'm covered
it.
in it." Yeah, and I
Like,
was like, "That's nasty." But
yeah.
anyway,
Anyway, I don't know. That was a standout scene for me. You want to do an MVP and then give a rating?
sure. My MVP of this movie is going to be Tommy Slater, the killer.
Yeah, that's who I was gonna give it
Oh,
to.
really?
It
Oh,
really is. I was gonna give it to the
okay.
killer because I
The way
enjoyed
he
seeing
was,
the
yeah.
killer. Yeah. I enjoyed the way he was killing people. I even enjoyed him in the first movie, not even understanding the backstory of it. But like in
Mhm.
this movie, like every time he got ready to kill somebody, I'm like, I wonder what it's gonna be this time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just good old school slasher. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep,
So that's my MVP. You ready for a rating?
yep, but you go first.
You always make me go first.
I just went first on the MVP, so now you go first.
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna
I was
give it a
actually think
6.5. So
yeah, I was thinking of 7.
not bad.
Yeah.
Not
I
bad.
I know I like this movie better than you did, so
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a horror. Like, if I had the choice to watch 1994 and this one, I'm watching this one.
Yeah.
So, knowing I gave that one a 5, I was like, I got to keep it right. I think I'm probably going to enjoy 1666 more than I enjoy this one. So,
Yeah, I mean, the trailer was attached to the very end of 78 and it did
mhm,
look intriguing. I mean, it continues the story where I felt like at the end of 78 where Dina reunites the hand.
mhm,
I was like, well, where else are they going to go from this? And they were like, oh, yep, here we go.
here we go.
This is where we're going to go. And it's like back to 1666 and you are Sarah Fear and figure it
Yeah.
out. Try to stay alive.
Basically. And I saw some of the same actors from 78 in this, also
Yes.
in 1666 also. So I was like,
Also in 1994 too.
in
So I think
1994 too.
yep,
Yeah.
all the characters are coming back and they'll all be in 1666.
Yeah. So I'm good. I'm good to see that. I think I'm gonna like it better. It gave me real Warlock tease, like
Mm,
Warlock the Witch tease, you know what I mean? And I
mhm.
actually really like those movies. So let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. What did you guys think of Fear Street Part 2, 1978? Drop down in the talk properly. Drop down in the comments
Sarah Fear coming to
and let us know.
be like, how dare you give me a 6.5?
Girl, don't make me call Marie Laveau on your ass. Look.
Oh
Oh, good
man.
God. What did you like about this movie? Drop down in the comments. Let us know. Until next time, we are your host. I'm Killer Cam.
And I'm Monique.
We'll see you on the next episode of Blerd Up Reacts.
Thanks, guys.